Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Jenny. Thank you so much for clicking on this video. This is a trip to the Sonoma Valley in California. We flew into San Francisco, and this is the San Francisco airport, and then we drove about an hour and 40 minutes north to Santa Rosa, which is the largest city in the Sonoma Valley area. And it was a great place to start off and have as our home base during our 6-day trip. So I was there with my mother and my sister. We went on a girls' trip, and we were celebrating my mother's 70th birthday, which happened in January. We had some pedicures, and then of course we visited a bookstore. This is on the main street of Santa Rosa. There's 2 bookstores there, a Barnes & Noble and Treehouse Books. This one, Treehorn Books. This one is a bit more special types of books, rare books, secondhand, and they did also have some new books there as well. And all the links for the places that I mentioned today in the video will be in the description box below if you'd like to check out any of these places. So I did really find that making Santa Rosa our home base worked really well for exploring the valley. It's a great sized city. This is the Airbnb that we stayed in, which was a 2-floor. We had the top floor, and we were able to walk to restaurants and other places, and it was easy to drive places. So the Armstrong Redwood State National Reserve we went to on the following day after our first day there, and we wanted to see some redwoods, and this definitely did not disappoint. I think this was about a 30-minute drive from Santa Rosa. And we went earlier in the morning. While we were there, they were experiencing, more of an extreme heat wave. I know in California, and especially in that part of California, it is usually quite warm, but it was even warmer than usual. So we got there quite early so that we could be outside and not be overwhelmed by the heat. But it is a lot cooler, of course, in the forest. So that was really nice. We saw this mama and baby deer while we were there. They were quite fine with us being close to them. We were just on the trail, and they were really close to us. And the trails in this park are very well groomed, so I think it's quite an accessible space. So if you are not very into hiking, this is definitely more of a walk. I think we spent about 2 hours in the forest, and we traipsed on all of the easy trails that they have available within the forest itself. And then there's also some other trails that are more complex and like higher grade for people that want a really more difficult hike, that go along the ridges of the mountains and like into different areas of the park. But this is kind of the main area that's groomed, and you can also drive through this park. So if you didn't want to walk through it, which I would recommend you walk a little bit, but you can drive through it as well. And it's interesting because even when you're walking through, the cars are not disturbing. They don't take away from the majestic and calm atmosphere of the forest, which is really nice. And yeah, these trees are just so magnificent. Just was so happy to see them and learn about them. There's lots of graphics throughout the park that you can stop and read. There's also lots of places with benches, especially this area here, the Colonel Armstrong tree, which is, they've named a few of the biggest trees after some of the founders of this park and the people that worked to conserve this land. So it was a really lovely morning and great experience to head out to see these redwoods. So after that, we stopped in a little town nearby to have some lunch. We went to Pat's Restaurant, which is a diner style place, and it had a great atmosphere. We had lemonade, we had burgers, just your kind of typical diner fare. And I loved the kind of small town American feel that this little place had. So for the afternoon, we went to the Charles Schulz Museum and Research Center. Charles Schultz is the creator of the Peanuts comics, and he actually settled in Santa Rosa and lived there for most of his life and was a huge benefactor of the city, and so they created this museum in his honor, and it highlights the Peanuts comics and Snoopy. And it was a really fun thing to go to. Obviously, you want to try to go somewhere air conditioned when you're going into, very high heat. So in Celsius, I think we were close to the 40s on this day. So it was really, really warm, but this is a nice little place to go. I would say you could spend about an hour here. If you had children, then you would probably spend a little bit more time. But an hour is a good amount of time to see the space. It's not a huge museum, but it's a really great place to go and see the creativity that this man had over the years. I loved seeing his office, which is where he did most of his work. They've recreated it in the museum. It's also a research center, so I think they also have like courses and things like that. And on this day, we went to an Italian restaurant, which is about 3 doors down from the Airbnb. And it was lovely. It's a high-end restaurant, so, a little bit more pricey, but the food was lovely. We sat outside even though it was so hot. Because we didn't have a reservation, they do have indoor seating that's air-conditioned as well inside the Marshall House. But yeah, it's a heritage home, and it was a lovely experience to eat there. The following day, we went to the Luther Burbank Home and Gardens, and you can go and visit the gardens for free. You do not have to pay to enter the gardens themselves, but you do have to pay to get the guided tour of the house and greenhouse that Luther Burbank lived in and worked in. I would really encourage you, if you are visiting this town, to go to these types of sites. Luther Burbank was a famous horticulturalist who created things such as the Shasta Daisy. And I would encourage you to visit these types of museums because they really operate on a shoestring budget. They are run by volunteers usually and board members. They're not-for-profit societies where they're trying to keep the history of a place alive. And it's a very small fee to pay to get this little tour and to learn about Luther Burbank's life. He was friends with the likes of Henry Ford and lots of other early 20th century famous people. And it's just a beautiful space. So we really enjoyed visiting the gardens. There were all kinds of different varietals of plants that he had created. And they keep the gardens very immaculate. And like I said, they're free for anyone to go and hang out in. You could take a picnic there. It's a really lovely little space to be part of. So after the gardens, we went and found a little cafe where we could have a drink. And the Cafe Frida Gallery was the one that we found, not too far away from the gardens. Santa Rosa is full of a nice kind of arts and culture atmosphere. The following day, we decided to drive out to the coast. So this was probably the day where we drove the most. I think this was about a 40-minute drive from Santa Rosa to get out to Bodega Bay. And Bodega Bay is beaches as far as the eye can see. There's lots of different types of beaches. There's rock beaches and there's sand. There were surfers. There were people, swimming. It kind of depends where you stop. So there's a lot of pull-offs along the road, and lots of different beaches to go to. And I think depending on which one you choose, you have a different experience. So we decided we weren't really interested in swimming so much, so we just wanted to go and put our feet in the water. And I'm gonna let you experience the loveliness of the waves and then resume. So this beach was a little rougher than where we wanted to swim, and I think there was no one swimming at this beach. But it was still, we love beaches. I love seeing the water, so it didn't matter so much to us. And it's also obviously much cooler when you go to the water, so you get a breeze off the water, and so the heat doesn't feel as oppressive as it does when you're more inland. But here you can see kind of the way the coastline works. This one road kind of lines along the whole coastline, and then this is another area. This was a lookout that we pulled out onto, where we could look out a little bit further across the water. We saw a seal, and it was, a really beautiful place to just take in some nature. And there were some people who went down on these rocks as well, even though I don't think you're technically supposed to. But it's, just a stunning place for views, and you could easily spend, I would say, a whole day there enjoying just driving up and down. Then we went to the Tides Wharf restaurant, and this little place was actually where they filmed The Birds, Alfred Hitchcock's movie The Birds. So there's lots of things to visit there too if you're interested in that. And these sunflowers are back in Santa Rosa. Just lots of beautiful flowers in the city in general. And then the following day was our wine tour day. We toured 3 different wineries in the Sonoma Valley area. I'll have all the information about those wineries in the description box down below. This was our first stop. They have a beautiful lavender garden there. And I would say out of the 3 wineries, this one was my favorite. This one was also the first one, and also the one that we felt the less oppressed by the heat at. But they have a beautiful lavender shop as well, and we really enjoyed their wines. They have a very fragrant style of wine making. Mentazas Creek Winery was very nice. This was our second winery, and it's a little bit more secluded, I guess. They've got the gates all around, so a little bit of a different feel from the first one. We hired a driver for the day for the winery, and that was a really great, it was a luxury, but it was really nice because we didn't have to worry about drinking and driving, obviously, and he was a very knowledgeable driver as well, and he told us a lot about the wine areas and, the grapes and the vines and like the kind of the fire hazard of this area and all those types of things. So it was really great having him kind of lead us through, not having to worry about finding our own way to each of the wineries. And this is the third winery we went to, and this was, at the height of the day where the heat was extremely oppressive. We did drive on one of those quad vehicles through the vineyards a bit, which was lovely. And the best part was coming into this very cool wine cave, which they had blown out of the side of the mountain, which is lava rock. So it was very cool in there, very nice to have a break from the heat inside with all the barrels of wine. And this winery, you get afterwards you get a charcuterie as well to enjoy. So we had a great time, and it was a lovely experience. And then the following day we headed out. This is us at San Francisco Airport, heading out again. And I want to thank you so much for watching this video, and I will be back again soon with another one. Please check out my other travel videos, which are linked at the end here too.